Hey guys, I just finished my Mini Galaga arcade machine. It started off as an Arcadie Kindle Fire dock. Inside it's powered by a Ms. Pac-Man plug-and-play TV game. The screen is actually 5 inches. It's a 5-inch monitor used for car backup systems. And the sound comes from a USB powered speaker. And then finally it's powered by a 6-volt power adapter. All these parts are off the shelf that I bought on eBay, with the exception of the Arcadie, which I got off Amazon. I think it was like $18.99 or something like that. I got the Kindle Fire version because it's actually cheaper. They had the iPad version, which is like $30 or something like that. But they're exactly the same. And like I said, the 5-inch LCD screen comes off of a monitor for car backup cameras. And I think 5 inches is probably the biggest you can go. And if you want to use like a smaller screen, you'll have to make a bezel because it'll leave more of a gap. The plug-and-play TV game is a Ms. Pac-Man plug-and-play, and I got it for like $5. It was broken, so I got it really cheap. Basically, it was missing like a joystick or something like that, and since I don't really care about what's on the outside, as long as the insides work, that's all that mattered. Originally, I was going to power it with a Raspberry Pi, but it would complicate things, and on top of that, it would drive up the cost a bit. So I went with a simple plug-and-play kind of game instead. As long as it had Galaga, I was okay with it. And the USB powered speakers, there were about $3. The audio that comes out of the plug and play game is actually not amplified, so it wasn't loud enough, so you're going to need some sort of amplifier. So these little tiny USB powered speakers work really great. So before I started doing anything, I tested all the components by itself to make sure that they were working. I tested the LCD, I tested the plug and play, and the USB powered speakers. So I made sure everything worked on its own before I started taking it apart. We have to break everything down to the necessary parts, just like the bare minimum, like bare circuit board. So the Arcadie, I mean, there isn't a whole lot to test with this. It's just the box. We only really need it as a shell to hold everything. So we just have to remove like the unnecessary bits in the Arcadie. There's like a rubber pad inside the box itself, which interfaces with the tablet. But other than that, there's really not a lot to do with the Arcadie. The Arcadie itself has this like back part, this hump here, which where we're going to store most of the internal electronics. And to remove it, all you need to do is remove the screw on the side here, down here, and there's another one on the other side. And there's also 2 more screws that hold the control panel in place. You obviously have to remove the artwork as well, the labels, if you're planning to customize it. So for the LCD, I removed it from the shell. I kept the front bezel to help use it as a mount for the LCD to the Arcadie. I kept the power wires, and I also made note of the wires for the LCD. Red is positive, ground is black, and yellow is AV input 1. And there's also a white wire AV input 2, but we're not going to use that. To break down the Ms. Pac-Man PCB board, it was actually quite easy because, you know, it had all the connections labeled on the circuit board. So, but make sure you document where all those wires go and what they do, because it's going to be really hard to figure it out if you don't do that. So again, we need to break just to take out the PCB board, the circuit board, and just take it from the shell. We're only going to use that part of it. We don't need the plastic parts or the buttons or anything like that. I decided not to use the second circuit board, which had the on and off button and the reset button or the LED light. I just planned to turn it on and off with just by unplugging it. To break down the speakers, it's pretty much the same thing. It's just a little box, and just desolder all the wires you don't need. You don't need the battery. This particular USB speaker has a built-in battery, so you could run it without plugging it to the wall or anything. And again, the circuit board is clearly labeled. And however, the speakers that came with the USB power speakers is actually too powerful. It actually caused the arcade machine to shake and vibrate because of all the bass. So I replaced the speaker with something smaller, like a Game Boy one, and it worked out really well. The audio is not too loud anymore. The Arcadie's control panel circuit board is very well labeled. It telling you what all the traces do, and the game circuit board from the Ms. Pac-Man plug and play is actually labeled as well. So soldering them together is actually pretty easy just by matching them up. So I used some RJ45 network cables to use as wires. Each cable is made up of 8 individually colored wires, which is perfect. And you need 7 wires basically. You solder seven wires from the game board, the game PCB, up, down, left, right, A, B, and ground to the Arcadie circuit board. The next thing you need to do is solder the LCD screen's circuit board to the game circuit board. Yellow is for video, red is for positive, and then ground is black. So find the corresponding points on the game board and solder them together with the LCD board. And for the speaker, since we only have one audio channel, we're going to solder the left speaker channel on the speaker circuit board to the audio of the game board. And positive, the 5-volt goes to the positive on the game board, and ground goes to ground on the game board as well. And then finally you solder the power lead that we salvaged from the LCD to the positive and negative of the game board as well. To power the device, the plug and play game uses 4 AA's originally, so it runs at 6 volts. The speakers are powered by USB and runs at 5 volts, but running them at 6 volt wasn't an issue. The LCD screen is supposed to be powered off by a 12 volt socket in your car, but I tested on my variable power supply, and the minimum voltage that this monitor can use is 6 volt as well. And anything less than 6 volts, it would flicker. So 6 volts was the optimal voltage for this. With everything soldered up and verified that they can run at 6 volts, I powered it up with a 6 volt power adapter, and then I tested everything. Then I hot glued the LCD bezel to the arcade. I used some tape to just hold the LCD in place, because once you put the back part to the arcade back on, it's going to hold it there anyways. And what you need to do is put all the electronics inside this hump, and then use double-sided tape or hot glue to put everything in place. And as you can see in here, I don't know if you can see that, but there's actually a hole in the hump in the back part of the Arcadie, and that's because when you close this part of it, the LCD circuit board is actually sticking out too much. It won't close, so I had to cut a hole to accommodate this circuit board. So you might have to do that depending on which LCD you use. The last thing I did was the artwork. I got the original labels off in one piece by using a hairdryer and to heat it up and then slowly peeling it off. And then I used Goo Gone to remove all the sticky residue. So once I got the old labels off, I stuck it on a piece of paper and I scanned it into my computer. And then from that, I used it as a template to create new artwork, which is what you see now. That's all it takes. I hope that's enough information for anybody looking to make their own mini arcade machine. Ask questions, like and subscribe. And if you decide to make one yourself, comment and put a link in there. I'll take a look at it.